Chapter 1. Voice Foundation. Your voice is the only instrument you carry into every room, and every time you open your mouth, that instrument signals whether you are worthy of attention or easy to ignore. It can boom like a brass section or squeak like an untuned violin, yet most people never learn to tune it. They try to lead with ideas alone, forgetting that sound is the first layer of meaning their listeners encounter. The result is a message that arrives dressed in rags when it could have arrived in royal robes. This opening chapter delivers the raw materials for those royal robes. Over the next few pages, you will assemble the physical mechanics that let a leader's voice travel farther, last longer, and ring with authority. You will learn why breath, posture, resonance, articulation, and pacing form a chain. Snap any link and the entire chain weakens. Reinforce each link and the whole line gleams. By the time you reach the final sentence, you will own a set of daily habits that keep the chain strong and flexible under pressure. Everything begins with breath. Imagine a bellows supplying a forge. If airflow falters, the flames die, and no amount of hammering shapes cold metal. In speech, the bellows sits below the ribcage, where the diaphragm domes upward like a parachute when it relaxes and flattens to pull air in when it contracts. Shallow, clavicular breathing, those small sips that lift the shoulders, starves the bellows. Volume drops, pitch wobbles, and the voice box strains just to keep the fire alive. Signs appear quickly, sentences trail off, words thin at the ends, and a tremor sneaks into vowels when nerves tighten the throat. The remedy is the leader's breath, wide, slow, and anchored below the navel. Place a hand on your abdomen and let the first breath rise against it. Feel the lower ribs expand sideways rather than the shoulders climbing. On the exhale, speak a sustained ah, and notice how the tone remains even to the final millisecond. Repeat until the movement feels automatic. Caught in a tense hallway exchange? Drop your focus to that low center. Inhale for a 4 count, let the abdomen swell, pause, then exhale on another controlled 4. The physiology calms cortisol spikes while fueling steadier sound, a double win for composure and clarity. Breath cannot roam freely if the frame that houses it collapses. Picture a garden hose bent at the middle. Water still flows, but pressure plummets. Slumped shoulders, forward head posture, or a sway-backed stance kink the vocal hose in exactly the same way. Align ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, and feet hip-width to create an open conduit from lungs to lips. Even seated, imagine a thread drawing the crown of your head upward. The spine uncoils, the chest lifts, and suddenly there is room enough for air to flood the lower ribs. A straight spine also broadcasts confidence before a single word is spoken. People feel the leadership signal long before they process its content. You can train this alignment like any other muscle pattern. During phone calls, scoot to the edge of the chair so that your weight rests on sit bones instead of the backrest. Each hour, stand up, roll shoulders back, interlace fingers behind you, and stretch the sternum forward for 2 slow breaths. Over a week, those micro resets teach your nervous system that upright is the new normal, making confident posture effortless rather than staged. With breath and posture cooperating, resonance can blossom. Resonance is the quality that makes certain voices feel warm, rich, and full even at moderate volume. Technically, it is nothing more than vibration amplified in open cavities, but psychologically, it is gravitas made audible. To locate your primary resonator, hum a low note and touch a palm to the center of your chest. The gentle buzz you feel there is the acoustic foundation of authority. Glide that hum into a spoken phrase like lead with purpose while keeping the vibration alive. If it dissipates, relax the throat and imagine the sound originating from the sternum rather than the larynx. Humming is one of the safest ways to deepen resonance because it encourages closed-mouth airflow that massages the vocal folds without slamming them. Begin every morning with 3 rounds. Hum for 5 seconds on a comfortable pitch, slide upward a third, slide downward a third, then release. Follow with 5 lip trills on the same breath, brrr sounds that vibrate the lips and cheeks, which move resonance forward into what singers call the mask area of the face. When resonance sits in that mask, projection becomes effortless. You are no longer pushing sound out, you are letting it ride a column of air that already wants to escape. None of this matters if the words themselves arrive muddy. Listeners grant a tiny window, milliseconds, to decode each syllable before the next one lands. When consonants blur or vowels shrink, their brains burn extra fuel piecing together meaning, and engagement slips. Clear articulation rests on two habits: warming the articulators and opening the jaw. Start with exaggerated yawns to loose the hinge, then practice tongue twisters in slow motion, overpronouncing every edge. Precise pronunciation projects profound professionalism. The goal is not theatrical diction, but disciplined muscle memory, so that in real conversation the sounds land crisp without conscious effort. Speed compounds the clarity problem. Under stress, many speakers sprint toward the finish line, as though faster delivery might outrun their anxiety. Yet comprehension falls sharply beyond about 180 words per minute, and rapid speech often telegraphs insecurity rather than command. Bring a metronome mindset to your pacing. Mark internal commas with half-second pauses. Treat periods as full beats. Silence might feel interminable inside your head, yet outside, it gives audiences room to think and assigns weight to what comes next. Record a 90-second summary of your project update, then replay it at half speed to expose rushed sections. Re-record until even the accelerated playback sounds deliberate. When these elements, breath, posture, resonance, articulation, tempo, interlock, the voice gains an unmistakable solidity. You will notice everyday exchanges shift in subtle ways. Colleagues stop leaning forward to catch soft phrases, clients interrupt less because natural pauses invite reflection, and long meetings finish without the sandpaper rasp of fatigue. To embed the skills, weave micro-exercises into routine. One diaphragmatic breath every time your phone vibrates, one posture scan at each doorway, a 5-second hum while waiting for video calls to connect, and a conscious pause before answering any unexpected question. Repetition engraves neural grooves deeper than occasional marathon practice ever could. Scientific research backs each habit. Studies in vocology show diaphragmatic breathing boosts vocal stamina and lowers perceived effort, while biomechanics confirms that aligned spines increase acoustic energy by freeing resonators. Acoustic analyses consistently link chest-weighted spectra with higher ratings of confidence, and psycholinguistic experiments reveal that moderate pace and crisp enunciation make speakers appear more trustworthy and intelligent. You are not relying on gimmicks. You are aligning with proven physiology and psychology so that your sound supports your intent. By now, you have met the engine, the frame, the amplifier, the filter, and the rhythm section of your instrument. Mastery of these mechanics will not compose your melody for you, but it ensures every note you choose rings out as intended. Keep the daily drills short and specific, 1 minute of abdominal breathing here, 2 minutes of articulation there, because consistency, not intensity, transforms technique into instinct. Let the improvements gather quietly until someone else remarks that your voice seems different, stronger, impossible to ignore. And just when these fundamentals start to feel second nature, the real artistry begins. For a voice that not only stands firm but dances, one that pivots from thunderous authority to a whisper that pulls listeners closer, you will need to explore the colors of pitch, tone, volume, and pace. The foundation is set. In the next chapter, the walls will start to sing. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, Vocal Dynamics. Imagine sitting through a movie where every actor speaks in the same flat, emotionless tone. No matter how compelling the storyline might be, how brilliant the cinematography, or how intricate the character's motivations, you'd quickly tune out. Human brains crave variety. They thrive on rhythm, movement, change, and surprise. Yet, every day, countless individuals step into meetings, onto stages, and behind microphones, delivering their messages in exactly that monotone style, inadvertently draining the life out of even the most vibrant ideas. You've already laid the physical groundwork for your voice: breath, posture, resonance, clarity, and pacing. But now it's time to explore the subtle artistry that transforms mere speech into compelling communication. Welcome to the realm of vocal dynamics, the power hidden behind pitch, tone, volume, and pace. Together, these elements are the brushstrokes you use to paint vivid images in the minds of your listeners. Pitch is often the first ingredient we notice in a voice, though we rarely think about it consciously. Most people assume their vocal pitch, whether naturally high or low, is set in stone, but that's far from true. In fact, pitch is incredibly flexible, able to rise and fall according to intention and emotion. Imagine the melody of your favorite song. It moves fluidly between high notes and low notes, creating emotional peaks and valleys that make it memorable. Your speaking voice can and should do the same. But why does pitch matter so deeply? Pitch, in essence, communicates your emotional state and authority, shaping how listeners perceive your intentions. Consider a phrase as simple as, "We're facing an important decision." Delivered in a high, questioning tone, the words become uncertain, even hesitant, inviting doubt. However, lower that same phrase into a steady, deeper register, and suddenly it carries gravitas, authority, and a subtle, unspoken assurance that you're prepared to lead confidently through whatever challenges lie ahead. Yet pitch isn't merely about gravitas. Used strategically, higher pitches can inject enthusiasm, highlight questions, or emphasize excitement. Imagine pitching an innovative idea with your voice stuck in a monotone. No matter how revolutionary your proposal, listeners will tune out. Allowing your pitch to rise during moments of anticipation or curiosity not only holds attention, but creates a rhythm of engagement, leading listeners seamlessly from one thought to the next. However, as with all powerful tools, pitch must be handled with care. A common pitfall is uptalk, ending sentences as if they're questions, even when they aren't. You've heard this countless times. "We're confident in our results?" Uptalk subtly undermines your credibility and signals uncertainty, even if unintended. Conversely, pitching too low consistently, striving artificially for authority, risks coming off as strained or inauthentic. The secret lies in finding your natural, effortless Goldilocks pitch. Not too high, not too low, but just right for authentic confidence. Yet pitch alone isn't enough. Tone is pitch's close companion, the emotional color your voice adds to the message. If pitch is your melody, tone is the emotional resonance behind the notes. Your tone reveals the sincerity behind your words, painting your intentions in shades that listeners intuitively interpret. Imagine saying, "Congratulations on your promotion," with a flat, unenthusiastic tone. It would instantly undermine the warmth of your message. Tone sets the emotional climate, signaling clearly to others how they should interpret your words. Unfortunately, tone mismatches occur all too frequently. Consider the leader who unintentionally delivers positive news in a flat, disinterested tone, or tries to express urgency without matching emotional intensity. These incongruities create confusion, mistrust, or even resentment, as listeners sense an emotional disconnect. To genuinely connect, tone must align precisely with your intentions. Warm, sincere tones convey trust and empathy. Firm, decisive tones project authority. Enthusiastic, energized tones inspire action. Then there's the often overlooked vocal fry, a low, creaky register often found at the ends of sentences. Vocal fry might seem harmless, perhaps even trendy, yet research consistently shows listeners associate it with disengagement, lack of professionalism, and even incompetence. It drains energy and authority from your speech, subtly eroding listener confidence. Eliminating vocal fry involves simply lifting your tone slightly higher in your natural register, maintaining breath support until the end of each sentence, so your voice remains clear and vibrant rather than trailing off. But your voice also needs to carry beyond the space directly around you. Imagine a compelling message trapped within a voice too soft to reach the farthest ears. Volume and projection ensure your voice is not just audible, but commanding attention. Many confuse projecting their voice with shouting, mistakenly believing louder is inherently stronger. Yet true vocal projection never involves forcing or strain. It's built entirely on breath support, the very diaphragmatic breathing you mastered in the previous chapter. To project powerfully, visualize speaking to the furthest person in the room, letting your voice ride smoothly outward on a column of steady breath. Whether you're in a large auditorium or a cozy conference room, your goal is the same: Speak with enough controlled resonance to fill the space comfortably, never pushing from your throat. The difference might feel subtle at first, but the shift in listener engagement and respect is immediate and unmistakable. Of course, no conversation about vocal dynamics would be complete without considering pacing. You've already learned how crucial pacing is for clarity, but now it's time to explore pacing as a strategic emotional tool. Think about your favorite storyteller or actor. They masterfully speed up during exciting or suspenseful moments, only to dramatically slow down, adding weight and emphasis to critical points. This rhythmic variation transforms ordinary words into compelling narratives. The pace of your speech shapes listener perception as effectively as pitch and tone. Rapid speech can signal excitement or urgency, but when used excessively, it overwhelms listeners, causing them to disconnect. Slow, deliberate speech communicates thoughtfulness, seriousness, and even authority, giving listeners time to digest the message. The key is to vary your pace according to your message, mirroring the natural rhythm of engaged conversation. Equally powerful and often overlooked are strategic pauses. Silence feels uncomfortable at first, tempting many speakers to fill gaps with filler words or rushed sentences. Yet deliberate pauses signal confidence and invite reflection. Used effectively, silence builds anticipation, emphasizes key points, and allows listeners to fully absorb complex ideas. To practice rhythmic variety, try reading aloud passages with different emotional contexts, such as an exciting discovery or a reflective insight, and adjust your pacing accordingly. Speed up slightly for excitement. Slow down dramatically for significance. Add intentional pauses to punctuate your message, letting silence underline your strongest statements. Bringing all these elements together, pitch, tone, volume, and pacing, creates an almost musical composition in your speech, capable of captivating listeners and holding their attention effortlessly. Research confirms what intuition suggests. Voices that vary dynamically across these dimensions are perceived as more confident, competent, trustworthy, and inspiring. Vocal dynamics transform communication from a simple transfer of information into a memorable, impactful experience. Yet, like any finely tuned skill, mastering these dynamics takes conscious effort and practice. It requires attunement to your own voice, willingness to experiment, and mindful adjustments based on your audience's reactions. Consistent self-recording and analysis can rapidly accelerate improvement. Listen closely for monotony, vocal fry, inappropriate pitch shifts, or pacing missteps, adjusting gradually until these tools become second nature. Ultimately, vocal dynamics empower your voice to match the emotional and intellectual complexity of your message. Instead of simply hearing your words, listeners feel your intentions, trust your sincerity, and respond with engagement. They sense instinctively the authority behind your recommendations, the urgency behind your requests, or the passion behind your vision. As you integrate these vocal dynamics into your daily communication, you will discover something remarkable. Your voice itself becomes a leadership tool. You will see listeners subtly lean in when you speak, colleagues respond with greater attentiveness, and your ideas land with the clarity and impact they deserve. More importantly, you'll find yourself communicating with a depth of authenticity that transforms your relationships and amplifies your influence. But even as your vocal delivery becomes dynamic and compelling, there's still one silent yet incredibly powerful dimension of your communication left unexplored: a subtle language spoken without a single word. This language shapes perceptions, conveys authority, and commands attention often more forcefully than the voice itself. Curious about how to master this hidden yet essential skill? That's exactly where we'll go next. Chapter 3: Body Language Basics. Imagine entering a room filled with strangers. Before you even utter a single word, eyes silently assess your presence, your confidence, your openness. In mere seconds, judgments form, perceptions crystallize, and impressions set firmly in place. What mysterious force shapes these instantaneous assessments? Surprisingly, it isn't your voice or the eloquence of your words. It's your body language, the silent dialogue you conduct unknowingly every day. Body language, far more than mere physical gestures, is an intricate dance of signals and cues that express who you truly are beneath your spoken words. It's the invisible ink on your message, revealing truths your words may attempt to hide or amplify. And though your speech can persuade, your body communicates something deeper: trustworthiness, sincerity, confidence, even leadership, often far louder and clearer than words ever could. Yet, like any language, body language must be consciously understood and mastered. Without deliberate awareness, you risk sending unintentional signals, messages of anxiety, defensiveness, disinterest, or even insincerity. This subtle leakage of nonverbal cues is precisely what your audience picks up first, shaping their immediate reactions to you and influencing how your spoken message is ultimately received. Consider your posture, for example. Right now, as you read this, notice your body. Are your shoulders slightly slumped, perhaps signaling fatigue or disengagement? Or are they comfortably pulled back, subtly indicating openness and confidence? Your stance alone speaks volumes before your voice joins the conversation. A powerful yet often underestimated posture is the open stance. Shoulders relaxed, arms gently by your sides, chest slightly forward. It quietly broadcasts confidence and receptivity, communicating to listeners that you're both trustworthy and approachable. Contrast this with a closed posture. Arms crossed, shoulders rounded, or hands tucked tightly in pockets, which immediately sends signals of defensiveness or detachment, silently eroding listeners' trust. But here's a hidden gem. An open posture doesn't merely communicate externally, it also affects you internally. Studies have revealed that adopting expansive, open postures not only changes how others perceive you, but actually influences your own feelings of confidence and authority, subtly reshaping your mindset from the outside in. The way you stand or sit becomes a physical affirmation of leadership, changing how your voice projects, your breath flows, and even how clearly your ideas form. Still, a confident posture isn't just about looking powerful, it must feel natural. A forced stance quickly betrays itself, creating awkwardness rather than confidence. Think of the ideal stance as comfortably balanced, feet planted about shoulder-width apart, weight evenly distributed. It communicates stability and readiness, subtly indicating that you're both grounded and poised for action. Whether standing during a presentation or seated during a meeting, maintaining this open, balanced alignment projects strength without effort, speaking volumes about your confidence without a single spoken word. While your posture provides a silent anchor, your gestures add vibrant emphasis to your words. Have you ever watched someone speak passionately yet rigidly, hands hidden or clenched? The mismatch feels unnatural, making listeners uneasy or confused. Gestures give life to your words, reinforcing your meaning, highlighting your key points, and painting vivid mental images for your listeners. Purposeful gestures are the punctuation marks of your speech. Consider your hands your second voice, amplifying and clarifying the first. Yet gestures require thoughtful control. Excessive, repetitive motions like constant pointing or erratic waving quickly turn distracting, overshadowing your message rather than enhancing it. Effective gestures are deliberate, controlled, and synchronized naturally with your speech. Imagine gently opening your hands, palms up, signaling openness, or carefully counting key points on your fingers, subtly reinforcing structure and clarity. These gestures quietly command attention, signaling your complete command of the topic without ever appearing forced or artificial. A critical part of this mastery involves what's known as your gesture zone, the area just in front of your torso, comfortably visible to listeners. Gesturing within this zone feels natural and confident. Gestures too high or too low appear awkward or exaggerated. Keep your movements within this comfortable boundary, and they'll complement your words seamlessly, enhancing your overall message without distraction. Yet the dialogue your body conducts involves far more than stance and gestures. Eye contact, perhaps the most revealing nonverbal cue of all, creates immediate connections. Eyes, indeed, speak a language of sincerity, credibility, and engagement that every listener instinctively understands. Avoiding eye contact inadvertently suggests dishonesty, insecurity, or disinterest, even if none of these are true. Conversely, direct but gentle eye contact builds instant rapport, signaling attentiveness and trustworthiness. But eye contact is nuanced. Staring too long makes listeners uncomfortable, interpreted as aggressive or confrontational. Instead, imagine a soft yet confident gaze, moving naturally between listeners. Picture an inverted triangle formed by the listener's eyes and mouth, gently shifting your gaze within this space. In groups, briefly land your gaze on individuals, just long enough to signal genuine interest, before smoothly moving on. This careful balance between attention and comfort ensures listeners feel acknowledged without feeling scrutinized. Facial expressions are another crucial, yet often overlooked part of this silent language. Imagine hearing good news delivered with an expressionless face. You'd immediately sense disconnection or insincerity, your trust faltering regardless of spoken sincerity. Expressions lend emotional context, acting as powerful signals of authenticity or deception. Genuine smiles, nods of agreement, slight raises of your eyebrows, they convey warmth, enthusiasm, understanding, or curiosity, reinforcing trust and engagement without words. Yet, facial expressions can betray us if mismatched with our message. A permanently furrowed brow or downturned mouth, even unintentionally, signals negativity or disengagement. Regularly checking your expressions, briefly, subtly, ensures alignment with your intentions, making your face an authentic extension of your message, not a contradictory silent signal. But the dance of body language extends even further. Have you considered personal space, how close or far you stand from others when communicating? This invisible boundary, known as proxemics, dramatically impacts comfort, trust, and effectiveness. Standing too close invades personal boundaries, causing unease. Standing too far signals detachment or aloofness, creating emotional distance even when you seek connection. The ideal distance varies culturally and contextually, but a good guideline is about arm's length, ensuring comfortable connection without intrusion. Adjusting your proximity subtly communicates respect, interest, and confidence, silently demonstrating your emotional intelligence and situational awareness. Recognize nonverbal cues from others, small shifts backward or tense postures that subtly inform you of their comfort zone, and adjust accordingly. This delicate sensitivity builds trust and rapport effortlessly without needing to say a word. Ultimately, mastering body language isn't about strict rules or mechanical movements. It's about awareness, control, and authenticity. Regularly checking in with yourself, observing your stance, gestures, eye contact, facial expressions, and proximity ensures your body language continuously aligns with your intentions. Practicing these skills intentionally creates muscle memory, transforming initially conscious actions into second nature. Recording yourself even briefly can be surprisingly illuminating. Watching silently reveals subtle messages you never realized you were sending. With practice, you'll find your nonverbal language supporting your verbal message seamlessly, amplifying your leadership, confidence, and charisma without effort. But even now, as you've begun decoding this silent language, there's still one more dimension of influence, an invisible force quietly shaping every interaction, subtly guiding perceptions and responses before words are exchanged or gestures even begin. It hovers around every conversation, unseen yet powerfully felt, influencing authority, rapport, and emotional resonance. What is this invisible element, quietly controlling the rhythm and flow of human interaction without ever announcing itself? As we venture into the next chapter, you'll begin to unravel this secret, discovering how to harness a force that silently yet profoundly shapes the outcomes of every encounter. Chapter 4: Presence and Confidence. Have you ever noticed that certain individuals seem to effortlessly capture a room's attention without even trying? It's as if they radiate a quiet force, an almost magnetic aura that compels people to pause, listen, and trust. What exactly is this mysterious quality that makes someone instantly noticeable, memorable, and influential, often without uttering a single word? This subtle yet potent characteristic is called presence. It's not merely charisma or charm, though these traits may accompany it. Presence is something deeper, more authentic, and genuinely powerful. It's about projecting confidence, self-assurance, and calm authority without arrogance or aggression. More intriguingly, presence starts long before you speak. It's the silent story your energy tells when you enter a space. Think of presence as the silent voice of your leadership. It's the unseen quality people sense immediately, a quiet yet profound statement of your inner strength, assurance, and credibility. Yet, unlike purely physical gestures or vocal techniques, presence involves aligning your internal confidence with your external demeanor, something that requires introspection and practice, but which, once mastered, can change the way the world perceives you entirely. To understand presence deeply, you must first recognize what it is not. Presence isn't bravado, nor is it an aggressive assertion of dominance. True presence never demands attention, it naturally commands it. Unlike arrogance, authentic presence springs from a place of genuine confidence and clarity about who you are, your values, and what you stand for. It's the calm at your center, grounding your interactions and subtly signaling to others that you're someone worth listening to. But how do you develop this compelling yet quiet authority? Interestingly, cultivating presence begins within, by shaping your internal narrative and mindset. Your thoughts directly influence how you carry yourself, speak, and connect with others. When your inner dialogue is positive, clear, and self-assured, your body language and tone of voice naturally align to convey genuine confidence. Conversely, negative self-talk, filled with doubts or insecurities, subtly leaks into your posture, gestures, and expressions, diluting your influence. Developing authentic presence involves tuning into your internal dialogue and consciously replacing unhelpful limiting beliefs with empowering ones. For example, before entering a meeting or presenting, take a moment to visualize yourself succeeding. Picture yourself standing tall, speaking clearly, and connecting deeply with your audience. This practice primes your mind for confidence, influencing your physical posture and vocal tone naturally and effectively. Another powerful technique that enhances this mind-body connection is known as power posing. Briefly adopting expansive open postures before entering critical situations. Although early claims that these poses dramatically alter hormone levels have faced debate, numerous studies confirm that power posing genuinely boosts subjective feelings of confidence, influencing behavior positively. Simply put, standing tall with your shoulders back, chest open, and head held high, even for just a minute or two, can subtly yet powerfully shift your mental state toward confidence and assertiveness. Imagine entering a room slowly, purposefully, and calmly after practicing a power pose. Notice how your presence immediately shifts. You project authority without effort. People sense your assurance before you even speak. This deliberate, calm entrance signals to your audience that you're in control, not hurried or anxious, but fully present, focused, and worthy of their attention. Yet presence goes beyond your physical stance. It's equally about how you speak, particularly how you handle silence. Speakers often underestimate the power of a pause. Silence can amplify your message, emphasize important points, and signal thoughtfulness. Instead of filling gaps nervously, embrace moments of silence to convey calm confidence and allow your message to resonate fully. Slowing down your speech also demonstrates authority, creating a sense of deliberate intention behind every word, subtly reinforcing your credibility. However, genuine presence isn't just about projecting outwardly, it's fundamentally about authenticity. Audiences are remarkably adept at sensing insincerity. When your words, body language, and vocal tone are misaligned, listeners instinctively perceive something off, undermining trust and reducing your impact. Authenticity, therefore, becomes the keystone of genuine presence. Speaking from your true self, your values, beliefs, and genuine emotions creates profound trust, respect, and engagement. Embracing authenticity means accepting vulnerability as strength rather than weakness. Leaders who openly acknowledge challenges, express genuine emotions, or admit uncertainty at appropriate times paradoxically build greater trust and respect. They communicate that they're human, approachable, and sincere, not distant or artificially perfect. Consider this carefully. Trying to project presence by imitating someone else or adopting traits that don't align with your personality rarely succeeds. Such attempts appear forced and unnatural. Your true voice, your authentic self, is the most persuasive and compelling voice you possess. By consistently aligning your internal beliefs, thoughts, and emotions with your external expressions, you cultivate a presence that resonates deeply with your listeners. To further solidify authentic presence, examine your core values. When your communication genuinely reflects what you stand for, you naturally speak with conviction. Authentic confidence emerges effortlessly because you're not performing, you're simply expressing your truth. Listeners recognize and respect this sincerity, even subconsciously, making your message more impactful and memorable. Yet cultivating presence is a continuous, holistic practice, integrating your mental state with physical expression. Inner confidence naturally influences your external demeanor, posture, and voice. But the reverse is also true. Deliberately adopting confident physical postures, calm speech patterns, and intentional pauses can positively shape your internal state. This synergy between mind and body, continually reinforcing each other, amplifies your overall presence. Imagine, again, standing before an audience. Your posture is confident and relaxed, your voice calm and measured, your expressions genuine and engaged. This congruence between your inner state and external behaviors creates a powerful, unmistakable presence. It communicates authority without aggression, assurance without arrogance, and sincerity without weakness. It's also crucial to recognize that genuine presence isn't strained or overly rehearsed. Instead, it feels natural, sustainable, and comfortable. If you feel tension or pressure in your attempts to project confidence, you're likely not fully aligned internally. Relaxing into your true self, trusting your natural strengths and voice, allows your presence to shine through effortlessly, making your confidence appear innate rather than artificially constructed. In essence, cultivating presence and authentic confidence is about embracing who you truly are, rather than projecting an idealized version. Your unique personality, values, and communication style are your greatest strengths. When you own them fully, others sense your authenticity immediately, drawing them to your leadership and message. But here's the intriguing secret beneath all of this. Presence, while compelling on its own, is just part of a larger, more intricate tapestry of influential communication. While your presence may attract attention and establish trust initially, maintaining engagement and truly moving your listeners requires mastering another subtle yet profoundly powerful skill, one that often eludes even experienced communicators. What exactly is this next-level skill, quietly shaping listeners' emotions, thoughts, and responses behind the scenes? As we turn to the next chapter, you'll discover a hidden tool of profound influence, one capable of turning a good communicator into an exceptional one. Until now, we've laid the foundations: physical confidence, vocal dynamics, authentic presence, but there's still one critical piece of the puzzle missing, something that subtly transforms mere interaction into genuine influence. What exactly is this invisible element, waiting just beyond your grasp, subtly guiding outcomes and transforming messages into lasting impressions? Let's explore this hidden key to influence together, unlocking your full potential as a communicator in the next chapter. Chapter 5: Language Clarity. Have you ever listened intently to someone speaking, determined to follow their message, only to find yourself utterly lost within minutes? Maybe their sentences stretched on endlessly, meandering through thoughts without clear stopping points, or perhaps they sprinkled jargon so liberally that understanding them felt like decoding a foreign language. It's an uncomfortable feeling, isn't it? Yet here's the troubling truth. We've all been guilty of this at some point. Language clarity isn't merely about choosing simple words or shortening your sentences. It's about understanding how your audience's mind processes information. Your listeners don't just absorb words passively. Their brains actively organize the information you provide into meaningful chunks. If your sentences run endlessly, listeners strain to identify key ideas and relationships between concepts. Gradually, their cognitive resources are exhausted, and your carefully prepared message becomes little more than background noise. Let's start by addressing a sneaky enemy of clarity: run-on sentences. These endless sentences happen when you're mentally juggling multiple thoughts simultaneously, trying to connect them in one breathless string. Perhaps you're enthusiastic about your topic, or you worry you'll lose your audience if you pause. Ironically, the opposite occurs. Instead of creating excitement, your audience struggles to keep up, eventually disengaging entirely. Your passion and knowledge are overshadowed by confusion. Why is this? Well, humans have limited cognitive resources. Working memory can hold only so much information at once. When sentences extend beyond a comfortable length, listeners struggle to determine the primary message amidst a tangle of secondary details. The result? They retain little and understand even less. Fortunately, overcoming the habit of rambling sentences is straightforward once you know the trick. The first step is deceptively simple. Pause. Mentally and vocally, embrace the full stop. When you speak, think in short, complete thoughts, one clear idea per sentence. Allow a brief pause at the end, giving your audience time to digest the information. This technique feels counterintuitive initially. You might fear silence, assuming it signals hesitation or uncertainty, but in reality, intentional pauses convey confidence, control, and clarity. Here's the second secret to curbing run-on sentences. Consciously manage conjunctions, those little connectors like and, but, or. These words easily tempt you into chaining multiple thoughts. Use them sparingly. Ask yourself regularly, could this be two sentences? If the answer is yes, break them apart. Practice regularly, and you'll soon develop an intuitive feel for structuring sentences that resonate clearly and powerfully. Yet, clear language involves more than sentence structure. It requires purposeful direction. Consider how often speakers start explaining a point, wander into tangents, and eventually realize they're far from their original idea. This wandering without a map not only frustrates listeners, but undermines your credibility as a speaker. Imagine planning a journey. You wouldn't begin without at least knowing your destination. Effective speaking demands the same discipline. Before opening your mouth, ask yourself, what's my main point? Begin your explanation with a clear statement. Think of it like a newspaper headline. Starting with your main idea immediately orients your listeners, creating a solid anchor for everything else that follows. Once you've introduced your key idea clearly, guide listeners through your explanation systematically. This doesn't mean you need extensive preparation every time. Even impromptu conversations benefit enormously from simple mental outlines. For instance, the PREP method, point, reason, example, point, provides a quick yet powerful framework for clarity, no matter how spontaneous your situation. Another powerful strategy is explicitly signaling shifts in your thoughts using phrases like first, next, or in summary. These are your signposts, guiding your audience along your journey. You might think, isn't that overly simplistic? On the contrary, clear transitions significantly reduce the cognitive effort required from listeners, helping them follow your message effortlessly. Yet there's another crucial layer of clarity that's often overlooked: concise language. There's an ironic tendency, especially among knowledgeable speakers, to complicate their message unnecessarily. Perhaps subconsciously, people equate complexity with credibility or intelligence. However, true mastery shines brightest through simplicity. Consider jargon, those technical or specialized terms often misused in conversations outside their original contexts. To insiders, jargon conveys precision, but for everyone else, it breeds confusion or even annoyance. Think about your audience. Do they understand these specialized terms? If not, your language should adapt accordingly. Explain concepts using simple, universally understood terms. After all, clarity always outperforms complexity in communication effectiveness. Concise language also involves eliminating redundant or vague expressions. How often do you hear phrases like, due to the fact that, when a simple because works perfectly? Or at this moment in time, when now is clearer and quicker? Such verbosity doesn't add value. It clouds meaning. Every word in your message should carry purpose and impact. Constantly ask yourself, is there a simpler way to say this? Beyond merely simplifying your language, practice the skill of precision. Vague words create ambiguity, forcing listeners to guess your meaning. Avoid generalities such as things, stuff, or issues. Instead, choose specific vivid words that paint a clear picture. The more precise your vocabulary, the stronger your message resonates. Interestingly, clarity doesn't just come spontaneously, it thrives on planning. Some speakers assume that preparation makes them sound artificial. However, even a brief mental outline can transform your clarity dramatically. Before speaking, pause for just a few seconds. Identify your core message, then mentally outline key supporting points. This simple habit dramatically improves your coherence, even in casual conversations. When preparing your thoughts, always adopt your audience's perspective. Ask yourself, what does my listener genuinely need to understand? What's the most logical order for presenting my ideas? By anticipating their questions and confusion points, you proactively clarify your message. Your listener feels understood and valued, enhancing your connection. Here's a practical challenge. Next time you're explaining a concept, deliberately structure it like a concise elevator pitch. Can you communicate your core idea clearly in under a minute? Practice this regularly. You'll discover how brevity forces clarity. By restricting your explanation time, you naturally trim fluff and focus exclusively on what truly matters. Recording yourself also provides invaluable clarity feedback. Listen critically afterward. Do you ramble, use unnecessary jargon, wander without purpose? This exercise, though initially uncomfortable, rapidly sharpens your awareness, helping you eliminate unproductive habits permanently. Above all, clarity involves ongoing vigilance. Great communicators constantly refine their language, regularly reviewing their messages critically, questioning if they can simplify or clarify further. It becomes an ingrained habit, a continuous pursuit of improved communication effectiveness. Language clarity, at its heart, is not merely about being understood. It's about deeply respecting your audience's attention and mental energy. By structuring your ideas thoughtfully, speaking concisely, and eliminating unnecessary complexity, you demonstrate profound respect for your listeners. They sense this immediately, fostering stronger connections and deeper influence. Yet, while clarity provides the foundation for effective communication, there remains another, subtler dimension to your language that deeply affects influence and persuasion. Even if your message is impeccably clear, it might still fail to truly connect or inspire action without mastering this next critical skill. What could it possibly be? As we explore further, you'll uncover a hidden element of powerful communication that subtly shifts perceptions, emotions, and decisions. Mastery of clarity alone is not enough. Next, we'll venture deeper into the subtle yet profoundly influential art of language, not just what you say clearly, but how you frame it to profoundly influence your audience. Are you ready to discover this powerful and subtle art? Let's delve deeper into the intriguing skill of influential language framing in the next chapter. Chapter 6: Powerful Language. Imagine walking into a room full of colleagues or clients, eager to present your ideas, only to have your message dismissed. Not because it lacks substance, but because your choice of words subtly erodes your authority. Perhaps you didn't even notice the tentative phrases slipping out, the hesitations and fillers, those innocent-sounding words that quietly chipped away at your credibility. It's frustrating, isn't it? But it's incredibly common, and that's precisely why this chapter is essential. Powerful language isn't about sounding aggressive or forceful. It's about clarity, decisiveness, and quiet confidence. Words matter deeply. The language you choose influences how your ideas are received and perceived. Often without realizing it, your word choices soften your assertions and dilute your impact. To your audience, these subtle cues suggest uncertainty, hesitation, or even a lack of confidence in your ideas. Think about conditional language for a moment, those little words like maybe, could, and might. They seem innocent enough. You're being cautious, diplomatic, or polite, right? Unfortunately, these seemingly polite words often communicate unintended uncertainty. Saying this could be the solution might seem prudent, but it leaves listeners wondering, is it or isn't it? Your listeners are looking for direction and confidence. Instead, you're serving up ambiguity. Now, conditional words have their place. When brainstorming ideas or genuinely discussing alternatives, conditional language can help keep conversations open. However, when it comes to expressing a definitive stance or making decisions, these words undermine your authority. They suggest you're tentative or unsure, even if that's not your intention. Fortunately, the solution is refreshingly simple. Shift your conditional language toward clarity and commitment. Instead of saying, "We could implement this strategy," confidently state, we will implement this strategy. Notice how that minor shift changes the entire dynamic of your statement? The first version opens up questions and invites doubt. The second version demonstrates decisiveness and leadership. Begin to monitor your own speaking habits closely. You'll likely notice certain conditional patterns sneaking in regularly, phrases like, "I think we should," or "perhaps we might." Whenever you catch yourself, pause briefly and rephrase into more decisive language. I recommend we will, or I'm confident this is the right approach. Initially, you might feel uncomfortable, as though you're stepping into unfamiliar territory. But soon, you'll feel empowered, like your words resonating with the strength you intended all along. Beyond conditional language, another subtle enemy of powerful communication lurks beneath the surface: passive voice. You might recall passive voice from school grammar lessons. It's when the subject receiving an action takes precedence, obscuring who performed the action. Mistakes were made is a classic example. Who made the mistakes? The passive voice carefully hides responsibility, inadvertently creating distance and vagueness. When you use passive constructions, you unintentionally create a barrier between yourself and your message. It might seem safer or more formal, but it ultimately weakens your credibility. Passive language feels evasive or bureaucratic, which undermines listener trust. To maintain authority, accountability, and directness, active voice is your greatest ally. Active voice is straightforward. It clearly states who is taking action. "We made a mistake," rather than "mistakes were made," sounds accountable, clear, and authoritative. It conveys responsibility and courage, qualities essential in leadership. By intentionally choosing active constructions, you communicate honesty, strength, and clarity, qualities that immediately bolster your credibility. Transforming passive language into active voice is simple, yet profoundly impactful. Consider this example. The decision was reached by the committee. Switch it to active voice. The committee reached the decision. Notice the clarity and immediacy? Active voice ensures the actor, whether it's you, your team, or someone else, is visible and accountable. This not only strengthens your communication, but also creates greater trust with your listeners. Another subtle yet pervasive linguistic habit that quietly undermines authority is the use of qualifiers and hedging language. Those little apologetic words like just, sort of, and kind of. These qualifiers, though seemingly harmless, diminish your message by suggesting hesitation or uncertainty. Imagine saying, "I just wanted to share an idea," versus the more confident, "I have an idea." The second version clearly communicates confidence, removing the subtle apology embedded in the first. Often, qualifiers sneak into your language subconsciously. They stem from the desire to seem humble or approachable, but instead, they inadvertently convey insecurity or uncertainty. Every time you preface your point with "I just," you're quietly apologizing for speaking up. Your ideas deserve better. Next time you're about to speak, consciously drop these unnecessary qualifiers. State your thoughts clearly and directly. "Here's my perspective," instead of "this might just be my opinion." You'll find your ideas are taken more seriously, your confidence rising with each qualifier eliminated. Your language becomes more precise, your credibility stronger, and your influence greater. Yet another challenge lurks in everyday speech, perhaps more pervasive than any we've discussed: filler words, those pesky verbal placeholders like like, and you know. Everyone uses them to some degree, but excessive reliance can quickly distract listeners and diminish your apparent confidence and preparedness. Filler words arise naturally when you're thinking on your feet, buying yourself a moment to organize thoughts. While occasional fillers are perfectly human and harmless, frequent repetition becomes problematic. Listeners begin focusing more on your ums and us than on your message. Worse, these verbal tics can imply nervousness or lack of clarity, undermining your leadership. The good news? There's a powerful alternative readily available: intentional silence. A brief, purposeful pause is far more compelling than filler words. Silence may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're accustomed to filling every gap with sound, but it provides clarity, emphasizes your points, and conveys thoughtfulness. Ironically, Silence often enhances your authority far more effectively than constant speech. Practicing pauses instead of fillers requires mindfulness. Slow down your speaking pace, allowing yourself time to think without panic. With practice, you'll find comfort in these intentional gaps, your listeners hanging on to your words more attentively, eager to hear what's next. Your language becomes powerful, deliberate, and authoritative, not hurried or uncertain. To further strengthen your speaking habits, periodically audit your own language. Record yourself during meetings or casual conversations and listen critically afterward. Pay close attention to conditional words, passive constructions, unnecessary qualifiers, and filler habits. Initially, this might feel uncomfortable, even embarrassing, but it's one of the quickest ways to self-awareness and lasting improvement. Whenever you identify weak language patterns, practice rephrasing them into stronger alternatives. Conditionals become commitments, passivity shifts to clarity, qualifiers vanish, and fillers transform into intentional pauses. Gradually, these new speaking habits become second nature, profoundly enhancing your authority, clarity, and effectiveness. Yet mastering powerful language isn't merely about swapping out words mechanically, it's rooted deeply in self-belief. The language you use mirrors your internal convictions. If you're unsure of yourself, tentative language will inevitably creep in. Thus, building linguistic authority starts internally, believing genuinely in the worth and power of your ideas. Powerful language, then, is both an external skill and an internal mindset. The more you recognize and affirm your value, the more naturally you'll speak assertively. Listeners sense this congruence immediately, feeling the weight and sincerity behind your words. This genuine confidence resonates far deeper than superficial linguistic tricks. As you begin consciously cultivating powerful language, you'll experience subtle yet profound shifts. Audiences lean in closer, sensing the authenticity and strength behind your message. Ideas previously dismissed gain serious consideration. Your influence expands naturally, quietly, without forcefulness or arrogance. However, powerful language alone, no matter how skillfully employed, is still only one piece of a much larger puzzle. There's another critical dimension of influential speaking, even more subtle yet equally powerful. It's not just what you say confidently or clearly, but how your words emotionally resonate, inspiring deep connections and genuine action. Imagine mastering this next subtle but essential skill, transforming your powerful language into something even more impactful. Language that moves people emotionally, stirring genuine passion, motivation, and commitment. What might this powerful secret be, waiting to elevate your communication even further? We'll uncover that intriguing secret next, exploring the hidden power of emotional resonance, an art that transcends clarity and authority alone, reaching into the very hearts of your audience. Ready to discover how to turn powerful language into profound influence? Let's explore deeper in the next chapter. Chapter 7: Connecting and Influencing. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly connect with others, capturing their full attention and motivating them into action, while others struggle to hold an audience's interest even when delivering valuable information? You might assume it's charisma or an innate ability to communicate, something mysterious and unattainable. But the truth is more encouraging. The key to powerful influence isn't magic. It's genuine human connection. Leadership communication isn't simply about speaking effectively or clearly articulating your ideas. It's much deeper than that. It's about building meaningful relationships and understanding the subtleties that create lasting trust. Imagine this scenario. You're delivering an important message, carefully crafted with clarity and power. Yet, halfway through, you notice eyes glazing over, phones discreetly pulled from pockets, and subtle shifts of attention drifting elsewhere. What's happening? Chances are, your audience is missing one crucial ingredient: an emotional connection. Powerful language and clear messages are important, but they can only take you so far. If you truly want to influence others, you need to understand them, speak to their emotions, and connect with what genuinely matters to them. Connecting emotionally doesn't mean dramatizing or manipulating feelings. Rather, It means genuinely acknowledging and addressing the emotional landscape of your listeners. Empathy, the art of truly feeling with someone else, is the hidden engine that powers meaningful communication. It bridges gaps between people, fostering psychological safety and mutual respect. Many leaders mistakenly think empathy implies softness or emotional weakness. In fact, empathy is one of the strongest leadership traits you can possess. It shows strength through vulnerability, signaling that you understand and value others' feelings. When you demonstrate empathy, people open up. They trust you because you recognize their emotional reality, validating their experiences. To lead effectively with empathy, first tune in to your own emotional responses. Notice when you feel defensive, uncertain, or even frustrated. Becoming comfortable with your own emotional landscape allows you to understand others better. When you acknowledge emotions openly and honestly, others reciprocate. Your communication becomes a dialogue, not a monologue. Leading with empathy doesn't mean losing sight of your message or becoming overly sentimental. It simply means communicating authentically, allowing your genuine emotional convictions to come through. Instead of hiding your passion behind formal neutrality, let listeners see why the topic matters deeply to you. If you speak from your heart, people not only hear your words, they feel them, becoming more inclined to support your vision. Now, speaking from the heart doesn't mean neglecting clarity or structure. It simply means bringing your authentic self to the conversation. When you honestly express your why, the driving reason behind your message, listeners sense your sincerity. They understand you're not merely relaying information, you're communicating something meaningful, something you truly care about. This emotional honesty transforms your message from informational to inspirational. But effective communication isn't just about speaking, it's equally about listening. In fact, true influence often starts with listening more intently than you speak. This might seem paradoxical at first. After all, isn't a leader someone who confidently directs the conversation? Yes, but the most influential leaders also know when to listen deeply, ensuring others feel heard and understood. Active listening isn't passive. It requires deliberate effort. It involves giving your full attention without multitasking or formulating responses prematurely. It's about demonstrating genuine interest through your eyes, gestures, and attentive silence. When someone speaks to you, practice responding with brief affirmations like, "I see," or "go on," signaling that you're fully engaged. Active listening also includes paraphrasing and summarizing what you've heard, not mechanically, but naturally and sincerely. By reflecting back what someone shares, "So, you're concerned about meeting the deadline, right?" You clarify understanding and show genuine respect. This subtle but powerful gesture fosters trust and deeper connection. Why is listening so powerful? Because people crave recognition. They want their ideas, fears, hopes, and concerns acknowledged. When you actively listen, you affirm their worth and value. They feel genuinely respected, making them more likely to reciprocate that respect. Trust deepens, opening doors to meaningful dialogue, collaboration, and mutual understanding. Beyond empathy and listening, there's another profoundly powerful method to deepen connection: storytelling. Consider this. Why are stories so influential? Why do they remain in our memories long after facts and statistics fade away? The secret lies in human psychology and neuroscience. Our brains are wired to engage deeply with narratives. Stories trigger emotional centers, activating empathy and enhancing memory retention. Storytelling makes abstract concepts concrete, turning complex ideas into relatable human experiences. Instead of overwhelming listeners with endless data, storytelling provides context, making information meaningful and memorable. When your communication incorporates stories, you capture not just attention, but imagination, creating powerful emotional resonance. Crafting impactful stories doesn't mean inventing elaborate narratives. Rather, it's about framing your message within a relatable, structured story arc. Every effective story has a simple setup, a clear conflict or challenge, a resolution, and a meaningful takeaway. Even brief stories, shared in casual conversations, can profoundly illustrate your values, demonstrating clearly what matters to you and why. When sharing stories, authenticity is paramount. Your listeners sense immediately if you're merely spinning tales for effect or genuinely sharing experiences. Authentic stories connect deeply because they're believable and relatable. They signal vulnerability and honesty, which naturally invite trust and emotional engagement. Authenticity, indeed, is the cornerstone of lasting influence. It's more than just being truthful. Authenticity is about aligning your words, actions, and beliefs consistently. People respond intuitively to authentic leaders. They sense genuine intentions and respect the transparency. Authenticity builds enduring trust, essential for influence beyond a single conversation or moment. Practicing authenticity means maintaining consistency across your interactions. If your communication is consistently clear, open, and respectful, even when delivering difficult news, your credibility deepens. Conversely, inconsistency erodes trust rapidly. To build lasting influence, your communication must reliably reflect your core values and genuine beliefs, regardless of circumstances. Authenticity also involves the courage to admit when you're uncertain or wrong. Paradoxically, leaders who openly acknowledge mistakes or uncertainty strengthen rather than weaken their authority. People admire authenticity, even vulnerability, because it signals humility and integrity, qualities essential for long-term respect. Building deep, influential relationships through communication is thus a balance of emotional intelligence, active listening, authentic storytelling, and consistent authenticity. These elements work together seamlessly, amplifying your influence far beyond what simple clarity or assertiveness can achieve alone. When you communicate empathetically, others trust you. When you actively listen, they feel valued. When you share genuine stories, they remember and connect emotionally with your message. When you're consistently authentic, your influence becomes enduring, resilient, and deeply respected. As you integrate these principles into your everyday communication, you'll notice subtle yet profound shifts. Conversations become richer, connections deepen naturally, and others become genuinely engaged by your presence. Your words, no longer merely informative, become transformative, resonating with people deeply and personally. Yet even as you master the power of emotional connection, storytelling, and authenticity, there's one final, subtle ingredient still missing from the equation. It's a factor few openly discuss, yet one that separates good communicators from extraordinary ones. It's about managing the invisible tension in every significant conversation, skillfully handling objections and conflicts without losing rapport or authority. How do you gracefully navigate resistance, turning potential conflict into cooperation and respect? How do you maintain your influential presence when conversations become difficult or emotionally charged? This crucial yet often overlooked skill is what we'll explore next. In the upcoming chapter, we'll uncover the delicate art of handling conflict and navigating difficult conversations with confidence and poise, ensuring your influence remains strong precisely when you need it most. Are you ready to master this subtle but powerful art? Let's continue. Chapter 8: Strategic Communication. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought your message was perfectly clear, only to realize halfway through that your audience wasn't connecting at all? Maybe you noticed blank stares, subtle glances at the clock, or even resistance in their responses. It can be frustrating, especially when you've prepared diligently. But here's the truth: communicating effectively goes beyond clarity, powerful language, or even confidence. Truly influential communication requires strategic thinking. Now, strategic might sound like corporate jargon or a vague buzzword, but let's demystify it. Strategic communication means knowing precisely how and why you're communicating something, considering carefully how it aligns with your goals and your audience's needs. In other words, it's about intentional influence, carefully designed to resonate deeply with those you're trying to reach. To start, think of your audience as your strategic battlefield. Before you utter a single word, pause and consider. Who are you speaking to? What do they value? What worries them, motivates them, or sparks their interest? The biggest mistake communicators make isn't usually in what they say, but in not truly understanding the people they're addressing. One-size-fits-all communication rarely works because every audience comes with unique experiences, beliefs, and expectations. When you truly know your audience, your message transforms. It becomes relevant, impactful, and tailored to resonate deeply. You speak directly to their concerns, anticipate their questions, and frame your ideas in a way they can immediately grasp. Think of this as the first strategic move in a conversation, aligning your message precisely with your audience's perspective. But knowing your audience isn't just about demographics or basic preferences. It's about understanding their emotional landscape and the lens through which they view the world. Why? Because humans aren't purely logical creatures. We interpret messages through layers of emotions, assumptions, and personal experiences. Strategic communication leverages this human reality rather than fighting it. Consider framing, for instance. At its core, framing is simply presenting information from a perspective that shapes perception. It's not about distorting facts or spinning reality. It's about selecting which aspects to highlight to help others see your message clearly and positively. Two identical messages can produce entirely different responses depending on how they're framed. Suppose you need your team to embrace a major organizational change. You could present it bluntly. We have to overhaul everything, and it's going to be challenging. Or you could strategically frame the message to resonate positively. We have an opportunity to reinvent ourselves and emerge stronger. Notice the shift? Both statements are truthful, but the second one frames the situation as an exciting opportunity rather than an intimidating problem. Great communicators instinctively understand that words aren't neutral. Every phrase you choose shapes perception. For instance, obstacles become challenges and changes become opportunities. Even subtle shifts, like calling employees team members or tasks initiatives, can significantly alter emotional responses. Your goal isn't manipulation, it's clarity and empowerment. Strategic framing helps your audience see possibilities, not just hurdles. But effective communication isn't static, it's adaptive. Like a chameleon, great communicators adjust their style according to context and audience, continuously scanning for cues and responding accordingly. What works in one scenario won't necessarily succeed in another. Adapting your communication style demonstrates emotional intelligence, flexibility, and empathy, qualities essential for real influence. Think about communicating across different hierarchies. Speaking to a senior executive demands a different approach than addressing your direct team. With executives, you might be concise, data-driven, and direct. With your team, your style might shift towards collaborative dialogue, openness, and supportive encouragement. Recognizing these nuances doesn't mean being inconsistent or inauthentic. It means being perceptive and adaptable. The same applies across cultural boundaries. Communication norms vary widely. What's considered direct and honest in one culture might seem rude or aggressive in another. Strategic communicators understand this. They read subtle cues, notice reactions, and adjust accordingly. If you see confusion or discomfort, rather than pressing on rigidly, pause and recalibrate your approach. Real-time flexibility enhances your credibility and influence immeasurably. Now, as you refine your message strategically, remember the classic pillars of persuasion: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, your credibility, determines why anyone should listen to you. Do you project expertise, confidence, and trustworthiness? Pathos taps into emotions. Why should your audience care deeply about your message? Lastly, logos engages logic and evidence. Does your message stand up to rational scrutiny? Strategic communication artfully combines these three elements. Ethos isn't about bragging or showcasing credentials. It's subtly reinforcing your credibility through confidence, authenticity, and reliability. Pathos isn't emotional manipulation, but connecting genuinely through empathy, shared values, and relatable storytelling. Logos isn't merely overwhelming with facts, it's structuring arguments logically, clearly, and persuasively. Imagine trying to convince your team to adopt a new process. Establishing ethos might involve briefly highlighting your expertise or the positive results of previous initiatives. You create pathos by expressing understanding of their concerns, making clear you genuinely care about their experience. And finally, you use logos, data, or practical examples to demonstrate that the new process makes sense. However, Even the best communicators eventually face challenging conversations, situations filled with tension, resistance, or disagreement. These conversations often reveal the difference between competent communicators and exceptional ones. The difference lies not just in having these tough conversations, but in how gracefully you navigate them. Difficult conversations shouldn't be avoided. When ignored, minor issues become major problems. Strategic communicators face these challenges constructively. They see difficult conversations as opportunities for clarity, growth, and deeper connection, rather than confrontations to fear or avoid. When you must deliver tough feedback or navigate conflict, preparation becomes critical. Clarify your goals beforehand. Are you aiming to correct behavior, solve a problem, or deepen understanding? Collect clear facts and observations, not assumptions or accusations. Then approach the conversation calmly, focusing on specific behaviors and impacts, not personalities or blame. Rather than saying, "You're careless," try a strategic approach. "I've noticed a few errors lately. Can we explore what's causing this?" By using clear, behavior-focused language, you reduce defensiveness, allowing genuine dialogue to emerge. And crucially, strategic communicators don't dominate these conversations. They listen actively, seeking mutual understanding and collaborative solutions. Finally, consider your ultimate role as a communicator. Often, it isn't about having all the answers or imposing your ideas. Instead, great communicators facilitate meaningful dialogue by strategically asking powerful questions. Questions invite participation, spark creativity, and encourage reflection. They're a hallmark of confident, strategic leaders who empower rather than dictate. Rather than insisting, "We need more innovation," ask strategically, "How might we approach this differently?" Instead of dictating, "You must improve performance," inquire thoughtfully, "What support do you need to meet your goals?" These subtle shifts profoundly change the dynamic, creating a culture of empowerment, dialogue, and ownership. Strategic communication thus blends clarity, framing, adaptability, persuasive balance, conflict management, and powerful questioning into a unified whole. It's not about superficial techniques or clever wordplay. It's deeper. It's about thoughtfully aligning your messages with both your values and your audience's genuine needs. It's about creating dialogues that inspire trust, cooperation, and meaningful action. So as you reflect on your communication, consider, how strategic are you truly being? Are you genuinely connecting, adapting, framing, persuading, and facilitating, or merely speaking clearly? Remember, real influence emerges not just from what you say, but how intentionally and strategically you communicate. Yet, as powerful as these strategies are, even the most skilled communicator will inevitably encounter resistance, moments when others challenge your ideas or refuse to engage positively. So what happens then? How do you maintain influence when your message meets skepticism, criticism, or outright opposition? Navigating resistance isn't about winning arguments or defeating opponents. It's something more subtle, more nuanced, a secret skill possessed by masterful communicators. It's the ability to turn resistance into respect, transforming opponents into allies without compromising your integrity or purpose. Curious how that's done? You'll find the answer and learn exactly how in our next chapter. Chapter 9, Practice and Consistency. If you've made it this far, you're serious. You've absorbed countless strategies and insights, from vocal dynamics to body language, clarity, power, emotional connection, and strategic influence. You've probably started envisioning yourself standing confidently in front of a room, your voice clear and authoritative, your audience hanging on your every word. But there's a crucial truth we haven't fully addressed yet. None of these skills will stick. None of these insights will truly matter unless you commit to regular, deliberate practice. Here's why. Preparation is the quiet champion behind every memorable speech, every persuasive conversation, every influential moment of connection. In the shadows, away from the applause and the spotlight, preparation and rehearsal are what separate merely competent communicators from genuinely great ones. If you secretly pride yourself on being able to wing it, consider this carefully. Winging it isn't a sustainable strategy. Yes, improvisation and flexibility are essential skills, but they're effective only when built on a solid foundation of preparedness. True mastery means being so deeply familiar with your material that you have room to adjust and adapt naturally without stress or anxiety. Have you ever watched someone stumble through a speech or presentation, obviously ill-prepared? Their confidence visibly crumbles with each sentence. Their audience slowly loses interest, and the connection vanishes into thin air. Contrast that with a speaker who commands the room effortlessly, moving fluidly through points with calm authority. The difference isn't innate talent, it's disciplined preparation. Preparation doesn't mean rigid memorization. It means internalizing your core message until it feels second nature. Practice speaking your key points aloud. This simple act uncovers awkward phrasing, pacing issues, and gaps in logic far better than silent review. If you're serious about polishing your delivery, rehearse in front of a mirror or record yourself on video. You'll notice gestures, facial expressions, and habits you were entirely unaware of. But preparation alone isn't enough. To truly master leadership communication, you'll need something more: honest, consistent feedback. No matter how insightful you are, it's nearly impossible to recognize your own blind spots. You might unknowingly repeat filler words, lapse into passive voice, or convey unintended nervousness through body language. That's where trusted colleagues or mentors come in. Seek their observations intentionally. Ask targeted questions. Don't simply say, "How was it?" but rather, "Did my key points come across clearly, or did I seem confident and engaging?" Accept feedback graciously, even if it's uncomfortable. After all, this isn't about immediate validation. It's about continuous, meaningful improvement. When you do get feedback, look for patterns rather than obsessing over isolated comments. If multiple people mention that you speak too quickly or lack clarity when presenting complex ideas, that's a clear area to focus your efforts. Turn feedback into specific, actionable steps for improvement and address them one at a time. Consistent incremental adjustments often yield profound cumulative effects. Speaking of consistency, here's a secret you must understand. Exceptional leadership communication isn't reserved solely for formal speeches or high-stakes meetings. The true test is your everyday interactions, the casual conversations in hallways, quick emails, routine meetings, and phone calls. That's where your habits form. If you reserve strategic communication skills only for special occasions, they'll never fully integrate into your natural style. Consistency is about consciously choosing to practice strong communication principles every day, not just occasionally. Think about it like training for a marathon rather than a sprint. Building trust, credibility, and respect doesn't happen overnight. It arises from countless small interactions, each reinforcing the other. When your everyday communication aligns consistently with the principles you've learned, the reputation you build is genuine and lasting. And here's something many communicators overlook: the care and sustainability of your voice itself. Your voice is the primary instrument of your influence, powerful yet vulnerable. Vocal health isn't just for singers or actors. It's critical for anyone who uses their voice regularly. Simple things matter enormously, like hydration. Keeping yourself consistently hydrated prevents vocal strain and maintains clarity. Warm-ups aren't just for performers. Simple vocal exercises like humming or gentle tongue twisters before significant interactions keep your voice agile. Recognizing your vocal limits and respecting them, avoiding shouting in noisy rooms, resting your voice if you're tired or sick, ensures your voice stays strong and resilient. If your voice feels fatigued or strained, respect that signal. It's not weakness, it's intelligence. Seek help early if vocal strain persists. Speech therapists and specialists can offer tailored strategies to protect your most valuable communication asset. Now, as you reach the end of this journey, let's confront one final essential truth together. Communication mastery is not a destination you reach, it's a lifelong pursuit. You never truly finish becoming a powerful communicator because the world around you never stops changing. Every new audience, every shifting context, every evolving cultural nuance demands adaptability and growth. Rather than daunting you, let that inspire you. Communication mastery means continuously sharpening your awareness, refining your skills, and embracing every interaction as an opportunity to grow. It's an ongoing commitment to self-improvement, curiosity, and the humility to always ask, how can I communicate better? The good news? Each incremental improvement you make compounds exponentially. Every small victory builds your confidence, every insightful conversation strengthens relationships, and every powerful communication moment reinforces your identity as a leader. This is the virtuous cycle of consistent practice and growth. It transforms your life professionally and personally, shaping how others see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. But here's the extraordinary payoff you've been patiently waiting for. When you fully embrace these principles, clarity, authenticity, strategic influence, empathy, powerful language, and commit to consistently practicing them, something magical happens. You stop merely communicating clearly or influencing strategically. You become something far more powerful. You become unforgettable. People remember you long after you've left the room, not just because your ideas resonated, but because you inspired genuine trust, connection, and belief. They don't simply hear your words, they feel your presence. Your authenticity becomes magnetic, your leadership undeniable, and your voice impossible to ignore. Ultimately, mastering communication isn't just about becoming a great speaker. It's about unlocking your fullest potential as a leader and human being. It's about creating conversations that matter, forging connections that endure, and influencing positive change wherever you go. You began this book hoping to become a stronger communicator. Now you know the truth. Communication is the essential, transformative leadership skill that underpins all others. You've learned precisely how to cultivate it, refine it, and master it over time. You've seen the path clearly laid out in front of you. So the question now is this: are you ready? Because if you choose to step forward boldly, practicing consistently, and embracing growth as your lifelong companion, you'll discover something extraordinary. Your voice has become powerful, but what happens when you're put on the spot? When someone asks you an unexpected question or challenges your ideas, that's when the real test begins. The ability to think quickly and respond articulately under pressure is what separates good communicators from truly exceptional ones. It's the missing piece that completes your communication mastery. Discover how to develop this critical skill in the audiobook Speak Like a Genius: How to Think Fast Before You Speak. Tap the center of the video now to continue your transformation journey.